And Hobart was how much old? He was
only a year older than Grandpa.
Okay.
14 months, I think.
They had them close together.
Mm-hmm.
That's just scary.
Scary?
Having kids that close together.
Well, it's kind of scary when you think about it, but when they get older, it's nice for them.
Yeah.
Like Linda and Bill were, what, a year and a half in between, and they were quite the pair, those two.
Yeah.
They were.
That it is good for them.
Yeah, oh, yes, and I still see that if there's news or something going on, that Bill has to let Linda know. He has to. I don't know if he's that much like that as much now, but up to a few years ago, he sure was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to phone Linda. Yeah. And I think that Helen always felt a little bit left out because she was, I think there was 3 years between her and Bill.
Oh, okay.
And I used to say to her, well, would you rather be the youngest of the old bunch or the oldest of the younger ones?
Yeah.
And she always wanted to be one of the older ones.
Yeah. All 7 of them.
Yeah. Just imagine.
And the farm, like, the farming years, good years, bad years throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s.
Yeah, good variety of years.
Yeah.
Have you ever read the story? Well, you have now in the history book. Then that your grandpa wrote that.
Which one?
Well, the Peters story, Frank Peters' story.
Didn't see it.
I haven't read Frank. We saw Frank Peters' picture as a curler. Like he was in Bondsfield or something. It was him and his team lined up.
Yeah, the Untouchables.
Really?
Did they call themselves that? That was their team name, or?
I don't know who started that.
Like they just swept every team that they.
Well,
it's curling. They beat everyone.
They were their total ages were 350 or something like that. So they were all 80 or over, I believe.
Oh.
I think maybe Grandpa Peters was the youngest of that bunch. And somebody dubbed them the Untouchables. That was a TV show, you know.
Oh.
That's where that came from.
I wasn't aware.
Yeah, it was a detective show.
It's nice that it's being taken care of, that house, and lived in and maintained really, really well.
It got to be kind of run down for a few years there. Grandpa, he kind of changed. And Bill and I have talked about it, and he says, I wonder if it was that time that Flicka fell with him.
Oh.
I suppose he was chasing horses or cattle or something, and she stepped in a badger hole. And through Dad, I think he went probably over her head, and he tore the brim of he had a straw hat, and that was torn right around the brim, torn right off, and he was actually unconscious for a bit. And so when he came to, the horse was standing waiting for him. It was Flicka.
Yeah, which I've heard Mom talk
Black
about
and
Flicka.
white, yeah. And so he got up, picked up the reins, and then he walked up, probably, could have been half a mile or more, probably more. And he said he didn't remember anything about that walk until he saw the kids come out to the gate to meet him. And his leg swelled up like that. It was just black and blue, purple and yellow, you know how a bruise goes. And that was the time we wonder if maybe he did hurt his head and it made a difference to him.
As far as
He just
capability in certain areas?
Well, he just didn't seem to have the gusto that he had at one time.
Was that in his 50s or?
We can't pin it
Yeah.
to a year.
Yeah, yeah.
Neither Bill nor I can figure it, but I think that maybe Ruth and Shirley were probably not very old at the time. It could have been still in the 50s, or it could be 60. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was the day we used to keep chickens, and there was these two roosters come up. Well, there was a hedge at that time on the front of the yard, in front of the house. These roosters were up around that hedge, and one of them crowed. And I don't know which one of the kids said, "Oh, he cocked." They crowed, he cocked. And then there was the skunks. You've heard that story.
Mm-hmm.
And this mother skunk and several little ones come through the yard, and it seemed to me that some of us were on the outside of the yard, and Linda and Bill were there, and she said to him, "A skunk can't spray when it's that little." She said, "Go and pick one up." Well, he did. He went and picked it up by the tail, I think, and of course he got a little shot of skunk odor. Anyway, he learned a lesson.
Yeah. A couple.
But she was the boss, and there'd be Linda and Bill and Jerry and Bob Guest. They lived across about a mile away, I suppose, as the crow flies.
Yeah.
And they'd meet in the middle somewhere at a big rock, and they'd have a meeting. Linda'd be the
president.
The president, of course. I don't know whatever they talked about in their meetings, but she was the boss.
And that's across from Guess, as it is right now. Straight across. It would be.
It'd be over a mile, probably.
Yeah.